And the breaking news this week is Damian Lillard has now requested to be traded. And I guess right now he hasn't found a new home yet. Could happen any day, I think. I guess it's an interesting situation. It was actually before this news broke that I was looking at Dame Lillard, and I was obviously looking at on the internet players that had stayed with one franchise. Yeah. And I think something really jumped out prior to this request is that Dame obviously has sort of always, and probably in his heart feels this way, right? He would love to win a ring in Portland and bring him a championship and so on and so forth. And many players would feel that way, especially ones that have been at a club for many years. But I think he was sort of what I found online was that he's in a real small group of players that had been with the franchise so long and obviously pledged his loyalty and for so many years. And he's such a, he's a talent. Yeah, he's a superstar, player, Hall of Famer. Okay. But um, he hasn't had the success because every other player that has stayed at a club for many years, and the ones that quickly jump to mind are like Dirk and Kobe and Tim Duncan, yeah, have had success. The only other one that sort of really popped up on that list, and it's not a long list, let's be clear, well, two names actually. One was Reggie Miller. Yeah, Reggie Miller obviously stayed with the Pacers his whole career, and he went to the finals with the Pacers. He had all those sort of conference and playoff sort of highlights and sort of moments from his side where he obviously had some big moments, and obviously his team also lost a few key games, in that sort of sense. And obviously he stayed his whole career with the franchise. The other player was Nick Collison. Yeah, he had spent his whole 14 years, I think, with the OKC Thunder, and they obviously didn't win anything. Okay, and I guess, look, it's different now. Dame's out of leaving town, obviously. He's going to go to another club, and credit to him. Okay, but it's just a real interesting scenario that if he had stayed, it actually would have made no sense.
Is that it? Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Lillard
Oh, well,
shouldn't have stayed in Portland.
wait. Are you actually agreeing with me? Because if you're agreeing with me, this now becomes like a cool take, not a hot take, right? We never agree, right? Isn't that the whole idea?
I think that one of the infographics I thought you were going to cite was Lillard was the only player that was still with his team that wasn't Klay Thompson, Steph, or Draymond, right? He was the only player that wasn't with his original team that
Well, that's
dates back 10 years ago, right? But when you think about the landscape of the NBA, not many players do stick with their teams, especially these days. And in Damian Lillard's case, he had that narrative carved out for him, but I can't blame the dude, right? You look at the offseason, they get the number 3 pick. They take Scoot Henderson, very similar, position, which may have worked. A lot of people were very like, oh, it's never going to work between those two. I don't think that's necessarily true. You saw CJ McCollum have a very successful career next to Dame Lillard. But re-signing Jeremy Grant with a large amount of money, it's kind of what you had to do, I guess, if you wanted to keep him. It's surprising that they wanted to keep him. Um, but that team was competitive last year, and they kind of trickled out to be around that 10 to 12 spot. And when you watch what other teams in the West did, obviously Denver really having that continuity with good players and being in a championship contention. The Lakers doing a very good job thus far of reloading with the role players they need to be successful. The Phoenix Suns, are rounding out that roster and, acquiring 2 All-Stars. He's looking around like we're not going to win here. And at some point, I don't know if the Reggie Miller, Charles Barkley a narrative is that appealing, right? Everyone wants to be like Dirk and Kobe and stay over the team and win championships. But, Dirk got one and then he never really went back again. And, Chuck jumped from team to team to try to do it as well. But Reggie Miller, came really close. I think Damian Lillard probably hasn't come as close as his record may indicate. Conference finals to get essentially killed by the Warriors. I don't think he's really been as close as he is. It doesn't surprise me that this has happened. Um,
I think
and
you raise a good point there, and I guess you probably got to feel on Dame's mind in a sense. There's a level of you know concern that if he didn't leave Portland, that he would have been. You could probably make an argument that look, Portland aren't going to make the finals. That's the point. Not right. Not as they're currently constructed. Okay, so you could make the argument that Dame Lillard, if he retires in say the next 5 years, could be the greatest player ever that has actually not only not won a ring, but actually not even made a finals. See, and that's a difference as well from Reggie Miller, from Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing. These are some names that really jump into, quickly in my head that never won a ring, but they went to the finals, they had a crack, and they fell short. Okay. And Dame's never been in that stage. And I think it sort of then poses the other question that, if, has Portland done the right thing here? What if they had traded the number 3 pick for some veteran that then goes, Lillard should stay here and play his career out? I don't know. What if Bradley Beal was going to Portland? Would that have made a big difference?
No, no, I don't think it would have, because I guess you look at the last couple of NBA championships, and it's been what, 5 different teams in 6 years, if I'm following it back correctly. So you've got Golden State twice, Toronto, Lakers, Milwaukee, Denver, and I'm really regretfully forgetting someone. I think it was Golden State again, right? But all of those teams, ironically, except for the Warriors, had a very good interior presence, which Portland does not have. And Yusuf Nurkic is tied up in a lot of money to play not many games. And they typically had about 2 wing players, right? And the big 3 is no longer as prominent as it used to be, but Portland doesn't have a big 2. So I don't know what acquisition they would have made to instantly propel them into that. And, you look at the skepticism around Phoenix, right? Phoenix finishes 4th in the West last year. And a lot of people are like, well, if you give KD more time, we'll see what they can do. They add Bradley Beal to that, and they've obviously added some role players around them at present, and everybody is still kind of reserved on like, oh, but putting together these teams just doesn't work like that. You need to get continuity and you need to have depth, etc. Portland doesn't have a second star player. Portland doesn't have depth. They have some nice young pieces, but there are lots of teams in the league that have nice young pieces. We're not putting any of them in the contention to win a finals anytime soon, right? You're very adamant that your beloved Orlando Magic, with their really nice young pieces that I would say are far better than Portland's young pieces, are not going to do anything of substance in the next couple of years. And I think for Portland to be walking around thinking, oh yeah, the 3 pick, flip it, get one player, and then Dame will be happy, was never going to work. And maybe the biggest thing that came out of this was Damian Lillard finally said it, because there has been a bit of a running joke that basically he's been the boy who cried wolf for about 4 to 5 seasons now, where he's just like, oh, look, hey, I wouldn't mind playing with LeBron, but I'm actually really loyal. I wouldn't mind going to Miami, but I'm actually really loyal. So, finally he basically said, I was like, okay, I feel like if I just say I want to trade and actually don't backtrack on that, I will get a trade. And I think maybe he figured that out. Maybe the hot take here is that Damian Lillard figured out how to pull off a trade request. Maybe that's actually what's happened this offseason.
This is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist in giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.